The trees of Zavros 9 were tall, black, and always whispering. Even when there was no wind, the leaves made a sound like something was breathing through them. Tonight, the jungle was silent, too silent. 12 alien soldiers moved slowly through the dark undergrowth. Their armor glowed faint blue, scanning for heat, movement, and danger. They had been trained for war. They had fought beasts before, but this was different. This time, they were hunting the Vraxion, the apex predator of Zavros 9. It had killed over 200 colonists, torn through metal walls, crushed hover tanks. Its roar could shake stone. Its claws were longer than a soldier's leg. And worst of all, it was smart. No trap had worked. No poison had slowed it, and no one who saw it lived long enough to speak. Sergeant Helran, leader of the squad, raised a hand. The group stopped. His visor picked up something movement, faint and fast. "We're not alone," he said. Then everything happened at once. A shadow jumped from the trees, too big, too fast. A scream followed. One of the soldiers was pulled into the dark. His gun fired once, then silence. Another flash of movement, then another scream, then blood. Red lights blinked. Across the squad's HUDs. 1, 2, 5 men gone in seconds. Fall back. Helran shouted, but his voice shook. They fired in all directions. Laser blasts lit the jungle like a storm. Trees fell, smoke rose. But the enemy was unseen, everywhere and nowhere. Suddenly, the jungle was quiet again. Only 3 soldiers remained. Helran was shaking. "What is this thing?" Then slowly, a shape stepped out from the trees. It was over 10 feet tall. Muscles rippled under thick black fur. Its glowing yellow eyes burned like fire. Claws scraped the ground. Its mouth opened slowly, showing rows of white, wet teeth. It didn't roar, it didn't charge, it simply walked forward, like it knew it had already won. Helran raised his rifle. His finger trembled on the trigger. But before he could fire, a voice called out, "Stop." It was human. The Vraxion froze. Everyone turned. From behind the wreck of an old supply pod, a human man stepped out. He wore no armor, no weapons. Just dark clothes, dust-covered boots, and calm eyes. His face was rough. His hands were scarred. He looked like a simple wanderer. Helran's voice broke. "Who the hell are you?" The man didn't answer. He looked only at the creature. The Vraxion growled low, deep, and loud. It took 1 step forward. The man didn't move. Another step. Still no reaction. Helran raised his gun again, but something made him stop. The air had changed. Even the leaves had stopped whispering. The predator was now just a breath away from the human. Then it stopped. The Vraxion lowered its head. Its claws sank into the dirt, and slowly it bowed. Helran couldn't believe what he was seeing. The most feared creature in this system was bowing like a trained animal. It's like a servant, too. A man with nothing but calm eyes. The human slowly reached out. His hand touched the side of the Vraxion's head. No fear, no panic. Just silence. Finally, the man turned his head toward Helran. "My name is Rion Cade," he said. "I told them not to send soldiers." Helran stepped forward, stunned. How did you do that?" Rion looked at the creature beside him, stood silently now, calm as a shadow. "I didn't do anything," he said softly. "It just remembered me." Back at the Galactic Council's main station, scientists watched the footage with wide eyes. Some thought it was fake. Others whispered strange theories. But one admiral leaned forward and said, "This changes everything." They had never feared humans before. Now they were starting to wonder what else could bow to them. The room was dark, cold, and filled with silence. 12 high-ranking alien leaders sat at the round table. Screens hovered in the air, showing the same thing on every side: a human man standing calmly. As the galaxy's most dangerous predator bowed to him, none of them spoke at first. The footage had been checked 100 times. No signs of editing, No tricks, no weapons. Just one human Riant, Kedand the Vraxion, kneeling at his feet like a loyal beast. Impossible, hissed the Zarn diplomat, his scaled fingers tapping fast on the table. This, ... this should not happen. It did, said the gray-skinned council chair. The question is, how? On a nearby screen, the Vraxion stood beside Rian like a guard, calm, obedient. The council had faced wars, rebellions, and superweapons. But this was different. This was nature bowing to man. Meanwhile, Rian Cade sat alone in a quiet room, deep inside a space station. No guards, no chains. They didn't know how to contain someone like him. He stared out the window at the stars. Behind him, the Vraxion rested on the floor, curled like a cat. Breathing slow and steady, a soft voice broke the silence. "You're not normal," said Dr. Lyravon, a xenobiologist from the planet Kirill. "The council thinks you're dangerous." "Not," Rian said without turning. "I didn't make it bow." Dr. Vaughn sat down carefully. She kept a scanner in her hand but didn't aim it. Then why did it? The Vraxion doesn't bow to anyone. It tears ships apart. It's death. Rian finally looked at her. His eyes were tired but clear. "Because I understand what it is," he said. "It's not death, it's just lost, angry, hungry. I don't speak to it with words. I speak with something older." Dr. Vaughn frowned. "What do you mean?" Rian turned back to the stars. Earth was a death world. Long ago, humans had no guns, no cities, only fire and instinct. Every day we faced creatures that could kill. Us, we learned their sounds, their ways. Some of us became something more. He looked at her again. "I was born too late, but I found a way back. Elsewhere." In a dark system far from any trade route, a massive aquatic station floated above the planet Narcus. Waves crashed below, clouds rolled above, and something swam beneath the surface. Fast, unseen, and angry. The station's last message had been a warning. Then, silence. Now, a message arrived on council channels. It was short, only 4 words. "It doesn't obey anymore." The council panicked. At first the Vraxion, now another apex predator, had gone wild. They had no choice. "Call the human," said the chair. Back on the station, 2 guards rushed into Rian's room. "Emergency," one said, breathing hard. "We need you again." Rian stood slowly. He looked at the Vraxion. "Stay," he said softly. The beast didn't move. It just blinked once, like it understood. Hours later, Rian stood on the deck of a warship orbiting Narcus. Clouds below covered the surface like white fire. Lightning crackled in the storms. The ocean below was angry, endless. He listened to the reports. The creature was ancient. Part serpent, part machine, part something no one understood. It had destroyed 2 underwater labs. Dozens were dead. Missiles had no effect. Useless. Nothing worked. It waited beneath the waves, quiet, watching. Rian said nothing. He picked up a small case and walked to the shuttle bay. "I'm going alone," he told them. The Admiral looked shocked. "That's suicide." Rian looked over his shoulder. "It's not about power. It's about respect." On the planet, waves crashed around Rian's small pod. He opened the case. Inside was an old whistle, wooden, hand-carved and worn. He blew it once. The sound wasn't loud, but the water changed. It rippled, slowed. And then something huge moved below the sea. Opened, and a shape rose from the deep. Long as a cruiser. Eyes glowing blue. Scales like black glass. It rose until Rian stood face to face with it. It didn't attack. It just stared back on the warship. Everyone watched the footage. Silence filled the bridge. The monster floated just meters from Rian. If it opened its mouth, the pod would vanish, but it didn't. Instead, it lowered its head, just like the Vraxion. The warship Fury's eye hovered above the stormy ocean of Narcus. Its engines hummed. Its guns stayed locked on the surface. Every screen on board showed the same scene. A small pod, humans standing still. A sea monster bowing to him. The crew didn't speak. No one blinked. Even the admiral had forgotten to breathe. "Is that real?" whispered a young officer. The admiral answered without turning, "If it isn't, we're already dead." Down on the surface, rain poured over Rian as he stood on the edge of the floating pod. The ocean was wild a moment ago, but now the waters around him were calm, still like glass. The massive sea beast floated near. Its long neck curved like a mountain. Its body stayed mostly underwater. Eyes like deep blue suns stared at him. Rian took a breath and stepped closer. "You're tired," he said softly. "Aren't you?" The creature didn't answer, but something changed. Its giant tail curled just slightly. A slow movement. Gentle Rian reached into his coat and pulled out a small white stone smooth. It's polished and warm from his touch. He held it high. "I remember this. You remember it too." The beast made a sound, not a growl, not a roar, but something low and echoing, like the voice of the sea itself. Above, on the warship, panic broke out. A new signal had arrived from a nearby moon base. "Something is coming, fast, through the clouds." The sky cracked open. Fire streaked down. A black ship unknown design, sharp and burning, fell through the clouds like a sword. "It's not Council," shouted a technician. "No ID, no response. It's heading straight for the human." On the ocean, the sky turned red. Rian looked up and saw it sleek, alien, covered in jagged armor. A warship built for one thing: to kill. The sea beast roared, but this time it was full of rage. The waters exploded upward as the creature launched itself into the air, rising higher than any beast had before. The black ship fired. Missiles screamed. Down, the beast spun. In midair, its tail whipped through the sky. The first missile was swatted aside. The second hit the water. The third never reached its target. The sea monster took the hit and kept flying. Rian didn't move. Inside the enemy ship, the pilot snarled. He wasn't from the Council. He wasn't from any known system. He was a collector, a hunter of rare beasts. He didn't care about humans or politics. He came for trophies, and this one, this sea monster, would be the rarest kill of all. He didn't expect a problem, until his radar went dark, then his power systems blinked. Then everything stopped. Outside, the sea monster slammed into the enemy ship with a force that cracked its hull open. Metal bent. Fire burst from the sides. The creature wrapped around the ship like a serpent, squeezing tighter. The ship broke in half, and then it fell burning into the sea. Rian stood on his pod and watched as the water swallowed the fire. The beast returned minutes later, rising again beside him, unharmed. He reached out and placed a hand on its soaked skin. "You did well," he said quietly. Later, back on the Council station, a meeting was held in private. No news was shared. No media alert was sent. But inside that quiet room, fear grew like smoke. First Fraxion, now the Leviathan of Narcus. Both had bowed to a single human. Both had obeyed. Both had killed on his behalf. "We created him," said an old Council scientist. "Long ago we ran the experiments. We gave them access to our lost files. But humans never unlocked those abilities," someone argued. "They were too primitive, too emotional." The old scientist leaned forward. "Maybe that's exactly why it worked." Meanwhile, Rian walked quietly through a dark corridor. Behind him, the sea creature swam peacefully through a giant tank built just for it. Beside him, Dr. Vaughn tried to stay calm. "You didn't just calm it," she said. "You commanded it." Rian stopped. His voice was soft. "I don't command. I earn." She looked at him. "But why do they listen to you?" Rian paused. Then he said, "Because I don't want control. I offer them something no one else does: respect." In the shadows, someone else was watching. A hooded figure in a hidden base received a message. "Target survived again." Sea Leviathan obeyed. "Send another, something stronger. Let's see how far this human's control really goes." The night sky above HFY was strange. The stars were covered by thick orange clouds. Lightning flashed every few seconds. The wind howled like it was alive. But the real danger was already on the ground. It walked silently, claws sharp as blades, body covered in dark armor that grew from its skin, eyes glowing like twin fires. It had no name. It was simply called the Breaker. It didn't hunt for food. It didn't kill for survival. It killed for sport, created by a forgotten empire and left in the wild. The Breaker had destroyed 10 colonies. It didn't feel pain. It didn't listen. Couldn't be stopped. No beast had ever beaten it. Until now. It was headed for Rian Cade. Rian stood in the middle of a ruined outpost on Vetra 5. The air smelled like ash and metal. His coat moved in the hot wind. Behind him, broken walls and burnt machines were all that remained of the last science base. He looked ahead, calm but alert. The Breaker was coming. Dr. Vaughn's voice came through his cum. Rian, get out of there. It's not like the others. This one was made to kill monsters. I know, Rian said. Then why are you just standing there? 'Cause I need to see what it fears. The Breaker arrived. It stepped over fire and crushed metal like nothing. Its head turned slowly. It saw Rian, then it stopped. The two stared at each other, man and monster, still as statues. Then it roared. The ground shook. Birds flew from the trees in panic, but Rian didn't move. The Breaker charged. Dust flew behind its feet. Claws ripped into the ground. Its roar turned into a scream of rage. But just as it leaped into the air and raised his hand, he didn't yell, he didn't shoot. He simply spoke one word in a strange, low voice. A word not from Earth, not from any known language. A word he had no memory of learning. The Breaker stopped, mid-dash air. Its body trembled. It hit the ground hard on its knees. And then it bowed back at the council station. Screams filled the command room. He bowed again. A soldier shouted. That thing bowed. That's not possible, said a general. The Breaker has no brain to control. It's all instinct and rage. Then how did the humans stop it? No one had an answer, but they all watched the screen in silence as the Breaker knelt before Rian Cade and stayed there. Back on Vetra 5, Rian walked toward the creature. Its breath was heavy. Its body shook. But it didn't rise. I know what you are, Rian whispered. You were made to kill. They took your choices. It made you into a weapon. He reached out and touched the Breaker's head. But I'm not afraid of what you are. I'm sorry for what they turned you into. The monster let out a sound, not a growl, not a roar. It sounded like a whimper, like something remembering pain, and for the first time in its violent life, it closed its eyes. Dr. Vaughn arrived minutes later in a dropship. She ran toward, Rian eyes wide. You tamed it, she said breathlessly. It obeys you now, too. I didn't tame it, Rian replied. I freed it. Vaughn looked at the monster. It stayed beside Rian, unmoving. This shouldn't be possible, she whispered. 3 Apex-class beasts, all from different worlds, all different species, but they all listened to you. Rian stared into the stormy sky. Not to me, he said, to something inside me, something older than I understand, far away in a hidden lab. The hooded figure watched another screen. The footage of the Breaker bowing played again and again. It worked again, the assistant said quietly. Even the Breaker, the figure didn't speak. Then he smiled. Begin Project Echo, he ordered. It's time we test the human. Against something different. Another beast? No, the figure said. Something smarter. Later, as Rian sat near the calm body of the Breaker, he whispered to himself, how many more will they send? The wind answered with silence. But, deep in the forest, something was already watching. And this time, it had plans. The forest of Nerali's prime was alive, but too quiet. No birds, no insects, no wind, just silence. And something watching from the trees. Rian Cade stood still in the clearing. Behind him, the Breaker waited like a silent shadow. Even this monster, known for destroying colonies, refused to step forward. Rian could feel it. Something was out there. Something not like the others. He took one careful step forward, and the air changed. A voice echoed through the trees. Not loud, not angry, just calm. "You are not like the others," the voice said. "You do not kill, you listen." Rian froze. That voice didn't come from any council channel. It came from the beast itself. 20 hours earlier. The council had sent Rian to Nerali's prime with full support. Not because they cared for him, but because they were scared. The pattern had become clear. The Vraxion, the galaxy's most violent hunter. The Leviathan of Narcus, master of the sea. The Breaker, a machine-born killer. All had bowed to Rian. Now, something new had appeared. But this one didn't attack cities. It didn't roar or destroy. Instead, it was watching colonies from afar. Studying, waiting, and it had never been seen before. An intelligent predator, Dr. Vaughn asked during briefing. "No one knows," said the Admiral. "We don't even know what it looks like." Rian had simply said, "Then it's time to meet it." Now, back in the forest, a shape moved in the mist. 4 legs. Long tail, eyes like silver moons. Its body shimmered like it was half invisible. Rian didn't reach for a weapon. He raised his hands, empty. "You've been watching, Rian?" said quietly. "Yes," the beast replied, stepping closer. "I have watched you calm the angry, tame the broken, free the lost." Its voice was deep, yet strange, like it didn't belong to a body. "You are not like the council," it said. "They call us monsters. You call us by name." Rian blinked. "You understand names?" The creature stopped just 10 feet away. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. "I understand more than you think," it said. "I was created too, but not to kill." Rian took a slow breath. "And what?" "To wait," the beast replied. In the council war room. The signal from Rian's communicator was playing on the main screen. The generals and diplomats were frozen. "It speaks," one whispered. "The creature speaks back." "This isn't just control anymore," said another. "This is communication. And if it's learning from him?" Someone asked, no one answered. Because the truth was clear. If the predators could talk, can listen, then Rian wasn't taming them. He was building an army in the forest. The silver-eyed creature walked closer. Now Rian could see it clearly. It had no name, not in the council records, but he felt something in its present: sadness, waiting patience. "What are you called?" Rian asked. The creature tilted its head. "The council called me Subject Zero. I escaped before they could finish me." Rian stepped forward. "You're not a subject to me." The creature's glowing eyes blinked slowly. "Then what am I?" "Survivor," Rian said. "Like the rest?" The silence between them stretched, then broke. The creature bent its front legs and bowed, not in fear, not in surrender, but in choice. Dr. Vaughn's voice cracked through the cums. "Rian?" It just submitted again. He didn't respond. He was staring at the creature. It looked up at him and spoke one last time. "There are more like me," it said, "hiding, watching, waiting for someone like you." "Then we find them," Rian whispered. "Elsewhere. In the shadows of the galaxy." The hooded figure slammed his fist into a table. "That's 4, he shouted. 4 beasts." "Oh," bowed. His assistant trembled. "We tried the strongest, the smartest." The figure's voice dropped into a growl. "Then we'll send the most dangerous one." His eyes glowed red as he opened a file marked Project Null, the one that feeds on loyalty, back on Nerali's prime. Rian stood beside the silent creature, now resting like a giant wolf. Dr. Vaughn finally reached him, speechless as always. "You're not controlling them," she said. "You're becoming something more." "I don't want to be feared," Rian replied. "I just want them to be heard." She looked at the peaceful predator beside him. "And they've chosen you to speak for them." Rian looked toward the sky. He didn't say it out loud, but deep inside he knew something worse was coming. And next time it wouldn't just be about survival. The skies above Quran Delta turned black, not from night, not from smoke, but from something alive, something that moved like mist. Yet ate anything it touched. Council scouts had called it a myth, the feeder, a thing that could steal loyalty, break minds, not by force, but by offering love. Now it had awakened, and it was looking for Rian Cade. On the dropship, Rian sat alone in the dark hold. His coat was soaked. His eyes were tired beside him. The silent predator from Nirali's prime slept peacefully. Dr. Vaughn checked scanners every few minutes. "I don't like this place," she whispered. "Nothing feels real here." Rian didn't answer. He felt it, too. A pressure in his chest, like something was pulling at him. Then, without warning, the dropship shook. Alarms blared. "Something's boarding us," shouted the pilot. But the radar showed nothing. Nothing at all. Inside the ship, a soft voice spoke through the walls, not from a speaker, from inside their minds. "You don't have to be alone, Rian Cade. You don't have to fight anymore. We love you. Come to us." The predator beside him growled, but not in anger. It was afraid. The ship landed hard on Quran Delta. Rian jumped out, gun ready, but saw no enemy, only shadows moving, fog crawling on the ground. Then he saw them people. Council soldiers, scientists, his own allies, all walking toward the fog, smiling, eyes empty. "They're not attacking," said Dr. Vaughn. "They don't have to," Rian replied. He stepped forward alone, deep in the fog. A shape formed, not a beast. Woman, soft eyes, calm face, gentle hands. She looked human, but her feet never touched the ground. Her voice was honey in glass. "You've brought pain wherever you go," she said. "Let me take it from you." Rian stared at her. "You're the feeder. I'm peace," she said. "And I can offer it to you. No more war. No more pain. Just love." Behind Rian, even the loyal beasts began to shake. One stepped forward and bowed to her. Rian's heart twisted. He felt something in his mind, gentle thoughts, warm memories. She was showing him his mother's voice, his old friends, peaceful earth beaches, all fake but perfect. And for a moment, he wanted to step forward, wanted to let go. But then he heard a sound, the cry of the breaker, a cry of betrayal. Rian turned back and saw his beast friend kneeling, confused. Lost to the feeder was stealing their loyalty. One thought at a time, Rian stepped away from the fog. "No," he said. The woman tilted her head. "Why suffer, Rian? I could make them love you. I could make them all obey." Rian's voice turned sharp. "I never asked them to love me. They follow me because they choose to." The fog hissed. The woman's face twisted, no longer soft. Now cold. Now cruel. "You would rather fight than belong?" "I don't want to belong to a lie," Rian answered. "I want the truth, even if it hurts." He stepped forward. The fog hit him like ice and fire, but he kept walking. Each step,
Ow.
memories were pulled from him, his past, his hopes, but he pushed harder, and when he reached the feeder, he touched her hand and whispered, "I forgive you." Fog screamed. The woman's image shattered. The mist cracked and burned, and then, one final burst of light, it vanished. The soldiers collapsed. The beasts roared, and the predator that had bowed to the feeder stood again and returned. To Rian's side. Later. Dr. Vaughn treated the wounded in silence. Rian sat beside the predator. Its eyes were wide, like it had returned from a dream. "I almost lost them," Rian whispered. Vaughn sat down beside him. "No." He gave them a choice, even against something they couldn't see. Rian didn't smile. She didn't use force. She offered comfort. That's what makes her worse.
Elsewhere.
The hooded figure in the hidden lab stared at the failed reports. "She even failed," he said, shocked. "The feeder couldn't break him," His assistant said nothing. The figure turned to the dark screen, which showed a galaxy map. Enough. Beasts, enough tricks. We'll send something else. He tapped the screen. A red dot blinked. Project, Human Zero. There was a room so dark that light refused to stay. Inside that room was a glass tank, and inside the tank floated something that looked human. But WASN, single quotes. Eyes always open. Heartbeat slow, almost dead, skin pale like ice. It was called Project. Human Zero, not born, not raised. It was built from fear of one man, Rian Cade, and now he was waking up. Meanwhile, on a council outpost near the edge of the galaxy, YN stood quietly beside Dr. Vaughn. The air smelled like rust and old wires. Behind them were 5 beasts, each one different, deadly and calm. The Vraxion Hunter, the Breaker, the Leviathan Cub, the Neurali's Silver Stalker, and the latest, the Mist Feeder's last loyal echo. All stood together, all by choice. But Rian didn't feel proud. He felt watched. Something's wrong, he whispered. Before Vaughn could answer, the power across the base cut out. Then the cold came. A single escape pod landed outside the base. It hissed open, but no one came out. Instead, a single message played over the speakers. You wanted a war you could win, Rian. This time, it's against yourself. They found the figure inside the base moments later. No beast, no monster. A man, same height as Rian, same face. Same voice, but his eyes were wrong. Cold, empty, controlled. The 5 beasts stepped back, confused, and the figure spoke. I am what you were supposed to be, he said. Loyal to the council, it's built to lead and to end you. Rian raised his weapon, but didn't fire. What are you? He asked. I'm you, the figure said, smiling without weakness. The council had made him from Rian's stolen blood and memories, but they removed the part that made him human. Mercy, choice, heart. He didn't want peace. He wanted order. And for that, he had to remove the flawed original. Rian, the beast, didn't know who to follow. They circled the 2 men, both the same, yet different. The Vraxion Hunter growled. It looked from one to the other, confused. Then Human Zero spoke one word. Submit. The beasts dropped to their knees, shaking. Not in respect, but in fear. His voice was wrong. It controlled them like chains. I was made to rule them. Human Zero said, not earn them. And now I will take what you built. Rian looked at each beast. Their eyes pleaded for help, but they couldn't move. He didn't raise his weapon. Instead, he walked toward them slowly, softly, and knelt. You don't have to follow me, he whispered, but I'll never chain you. The beasts blinked. One twitched, then another. Rian's voice grew stronger. You're not weapons. You're not. Things, you are free. And something broke inside the chains. The first beast stood, then another, then all 5. They roared not in rage, but in defiance, and turned to face the fake human. Human Zero's eyes narrowed. You chose wrong. Raised his arm. A blast of dark energy fired toward Rian, but the breaker leaped in front. Took the hit, roared in pain, but stood tall. Rian looked up. I didn't make them bow. I made them believe. The fight was quick but violent. Human Zero was fast, brutal, trained with every move Rian ever made, but he had no allies. And when the beasts joined the battle, working together, he finally lost. He vanished into the shadows, wounded but not dead, before escaping. He looked back and said, You can't win forever, Rian. I am what the future looks like, and I will return. Later, inside the outpost, Dr. Vaughn cleaned Rian's wounds. The beasts rested nearby. He had your voice, she whispered, your face. But nothing inside. Rian said nothing, because he knew. If they could build one like him, they could build more, and next time they might not fail. Far away, the hooded council figure stood over a new lab, more tanks, more copies, and in his hand one blood sample. not Rian's, but something older. We gave Rian heart, the figure said. Now, we take it away. The skies above Earth burned gold as the last warship entered orbit. Every satellite, every scanner, every radio was silent, because something older than the Council, something ancient had awakened. It had no name, just a code name, the original Apex. It wasn't built. It wasn't born. It was found trapped in ice deep beneath the surface of a dead planet. And now the Council had set it free. To kill Rian. Cade.Earth Command. ... Dr. Vaughn stood in front of the screen, hands shaking. The readings made no sense. No DNA markers. No tech ... It's not a beast or machine. It's both, said the Admiral. And it's already killed 2 Council fleets. Rian Cade walked in. Behind him stood the 5 beasts, loyal, tired, ready. They had bowed once. Now they followed by choice. This one won't speak, Vaughn warned. It doesn't feel. It only destroys. Rian looked out the window at the sky. Then we give it something it's never had. What? A reason to stop? Moments later, the creature arrived, not in a ship. It fell from the sky. No wings, no flame. Just a body so heavy the clouds parted around it. When it landed in the ruined fields outside Earth's last defense line, the ground cracked like glass. The beasts around Rian backed away. Even the breaker trembled. It was tall, silent, skin like stone. No mouth, no eyes. Only a glowing symbol on its chest, ancient and alien. Rian stepped forward, heart pounding. I'm not your enemy, he said. The creature didn't move. Then, it raised one hand, and every beast dropped. Paralyzed. Even Rian felt his knees weaken. Not from power, but from something deeper fear in the soul. Suddenly, a voice echoed not from the creature, but from deep inside Rian's mind. They all bowed, all of them. Even the stars once knelt to me. You are nothing, and yet they follow you. Why? Yane's voice shook, but he stood. Because I don't force them. Give them a choice. Choice is weakness. No, Rian whispered. It's the only thing that makes us strong. The creature raised its hand again. This time, storm formed above them. Lightning, fire, smoke. But Rian didn't move. He walked through the wind, through the pain, and stood face to face with the ancient beast. You've ruled with fear, with power, Rian said. But what happens when someone says no? He opened his arms, and behind him, the beasts stood again, each. One, broken, burned, but alive. They stood beside him and they roared. The creature hesitated for the first time in eons. It paused because, in all its existence, nothing had ever stood in front of it without kneeling, and now, not 1, but 6, and all because of one human. Then, something impossible happened. The glowing symbol on the apex's chest flickered, and it lowered its hand. The storm stopped. The air cleared, and the Ancient One knelt not in surrender, but in understanding. Back in council space, panic screens flashed. The apex has submitted. Impossible. The hooded leader slammed a fist. This can't be happening. This was the final answer. The last plan. A whisper came from behind him. He didn't fight with strength. Then with what? The leader snapped. With something will. Never understand, the voice said. Something called loyalty. On Earth, Rian looked at the kneeling giant. He didn't smile. He walked up and placed a hand on the creature's massive head. You don't have to be alone anymore. The ancient being pulsed with light once, then faded. Peaceful, the other beasts circled. Rian slowly, the war was over, and not one life was taken, because one human refused to lead with fear. Weeks later, galaxies whispered the same tale, that even the strongest beasts had bowed not to war, not to power, but to a man with no crown. Children on alien worlds played games where they pretended to be him. Councils banned his name out of fear. And deep in the stars, a symbol began to appear. On walls and ships, a hand extended in peace. And below it, the words, "Follow by choice."